Imagine a frigid December night in 1774, 4 months before Paul Revere's famous midnight ride to Lexington. A lone rider gallops from Boston to Portsmouth, warning that British troops are coming to seize gunpowder and arms from Fort William and Mary. Hundreds of patriots storm the fort, overpower the garrison, haul away cannons and powder, the first armed rebellion of the American Revolution. No shots fired in anger yet, but the fuse lit. This tiny colony, squeezed between Massachusetts and the wilderness, struck first, supplied the Continental Army relentlessly, and delivered the ninth, decisive vote to ratify the Constitution. New Hampshire didn't win the war alone, but its grit, its men at Bunker Hill, its early defiance turned the tide. How does a state so small cast such a long shadow over America's birth, and why does that legacy still echo in every presidential election? The land that became New Hampshire felt ancient footsteps long before European sails appeared. Indigenous peoples, Pennacook, Abenaki, and others, hunted its forests, fished its rivers, and farmed the valleys for centuries. Then, in 1603, Martin Pring explored the Piscataqua River for English merchants, tasting wild grapes and eyeing timber. Settlement followed in 1623. David Thompson's fishing post at Panaway, now Rye, and the Hilton brothers' permanent foothold at Dover Point, the first enduring English village north of the Merrimack. Captain John Mason, a naval officer and merchant, received a vast grant in 1629 from the Council for New England. He named it New Hampshire after his home county. Mason never set foot here, but his agents drew settlers, fishermen, traders, farmers, who cleared land along the coast and rivers. Portsmouth grew as a shipbuilding hub, drawing Scots-Irish, English, and others seeking opportunity. By the 1700s, the province stretched inland, but borders sparked endless quarrels. Massachusetts claimed chunks, New York eyed western lands, the New Hampshire grants that became Vermont. Life was rugged. Harsh winters, rocky soil, Indian wars, King William's War, Queen Anne's War tested resolve. Yet New Hampshire developed a fierce independence. No established church dominated, towns governed themselves. By mid-century, Governor Bennington Wentworth issued land grants across the frontier, fueling growth, but igniting border feuds that would echo into revolution. The spark came in December 1774. Paul Revere rode north, not to warn of redcoats marching on Lexington, but to alert Portsmouth that troops were sailing to seize Fort William and Mary. Patriots mobilized. Nearly 400 men rode to the fort, overwhelmed the small garrison, seized gunpowder, muskets, cannons. They lowered the British flag. This raid, bloodless but bold, marked the Revolution's first armed defiance. Governor John Wentworth fled soon after. Royal authority crumbled. New Hampshire moved fast. On January 5, 1776, 6 months before the Declaration, the Provincial Congress adopted a temporary constitution, the first in any colony, establishing self-rule without mentioning the king. In June, delegates in Philadelphia received instructions, vote for independence. When the Declaration came, 3 New Hampshireites, Josiah Bartlett, Matthew Thornton, William Whipple, signed it. The state became a powerhouse supplier. Mills churned gunpowder, forests fed shipyards, thousands enlisted, regiments marched south. No major battles scarred New Hampshire soil. The British never invaded, but its men fought everywhere. At Bunker Hill in June 1775, 2/3 of the American troops were Granite staters. They held Breed's Hill stubbornly, inflicting heavy losses before retreating. John Stark's name became legend. In 1777, Stark rallied militia at Bennington, technically in Vermont, but New Hampshire men turned the tide, capturing British supplies and crippling Burgoyne's campaign. That victory helped Saratoga's surrender, bringing France into the war. The home front strained. Inflation soared, loyalists fled, but resolve held. Women managed farms, children collected lead for bullets. After Yorktown, New Hampshire's ratification became pivotal. In June 1788, it cast the 9th vote, enough to make the Constitution law. Without it, the Union might have fractured. Post-war, the state wrestled with debt and division. Shays' Rebellion echoes stirred unrest. Taxes bit hard. Yet New Hampshire emerged stronger, its frontier spirit intact. The 19th century transformed New Hampshire. Rivers powered textile mills. Manchester became a factory city. Amoskeag, the largest cotton mill complex in the world. Immigrants, Irish, French Canadians filled the looms. Railroads snaked through valleys. Tourism bloomed in the White Mountains. Politically, the state produced giants. Daniel Webster, defender of the Constitution, thundered in Congress. Franklin Pierce rose to president in 1853, though his pro-slavery stance tarnished him. Abolitionist voices grew. Harriet Wilson wrote the first novel by an African-American woman here. Civil War called again. Over 35,000 enlisted. Mills made uniforms and rifles. The state stayed Union, its "Live Free or Die" motto forged in fire. Industrial decline came in the 20th century. Textiles fled south, but adaptation followed. Ski resorts turned mountains into winter playgrounds. Defense and tech took root. Today, New Hampshire wields outsized influence. The first-in-the-nation presidential primary since 1952 puts small-town voters at the center of national power. Candidates trek through diners and town halls, their fates often decided in this granite heartland. Economy thrives on low taxes, no sales or income tax drawing businesses and residents. Biotech clusters around universities. Tourism, fall foliage, White Mountains pulls millions. Outdoor recreation defines identity. Hiking, skiing, live free or die plates. Challenges persist. Aging population, opioid crisis, housing costs. Yet the state balances tradition and change, its independent streak alive. New Hampshire never needed size to matter. From the first raid that defied the crown to the vote that bound the Constitution, from Bunker Hill's blood to today's primary ballots, this small state has repeatedly shaped America's path. It proves that courage, resolve, and a refusal to bow can outweigh vast armies or sprawling lands. In a nation pulled by giants, New Hampshire stands as reminder: the smallest voice can tip the scale, the quiet frontier can roar loudest. As primaries loom and mountains endure, the Granite State asks, what will we dare next? Live free or die trying? The answer echoes across the valleys, waiting for the next generation to write it.